The most important thing, I think, is to learn the history, to respect the history, to understand the extraordinary risk and heroism of the people who formed Solidarity in August, September 1980, and then all over Poland. I mean, we in the West, the comfortable West, were looking with total shock and awe, or in admiration, because in every previous example since 1917 of people challenging communist rule, the answer after a bit had been the most ruthless oppression, death, torture, arrests, firing from jobs, exiles, internal exile. That was the only response the communist animal knew. And so we were just absolutely terrified that this is what would happen. The levers of military power stayed with General Jaruzelski. Moscow was obviously looking with huge interest in this. I mean, there was going to be, it would not be like Libya or other places. There'd be no military intervention. The one thing that the West had decided to do in Berlin in '53, in Budapest in '56, Prague '68, was not to challenge in a military sense communist hegemony in its zone. So just understand just what bravery that required, but also what sharing of ideas, of cooperation, of being innovative. And it's very difficult because the last 30 years, the years of Mrs. Thatcher, if you like, and Mr. Reagan, have been what the French call an era of enrichissez-vous, get rich quick, only the individual counts. Mrs. Thatcher famously said there is no such thing as society. I think Solidarity said there is such a thing as society. It's Polish society. The form that we're taking is as a trade union, but actually it's a giant social project to bring people of different ideas together to work for a free and better Poland. So finding that sense of solidarity again is probably the most important thing to get us out of the collective crisis that the Western democracies face, because if you look at what's happening in Russia, why are the Russians marching in the street demanding that Putin go? They're exactly like the Poles of the Solidarity era. For the first time, the Russians have to learn Polish and learn Polish history and see if they can create a self-limiting revolution that does finally create proper freedom, democracy and rule of law in Russia. This similarly in China. The Chinese communists have locked up their Nobel Peace Prize laureate Liu Xiaobo, terrified that his message will encourage the Chinese, like the Poles, to define their own future instead of taking orders from an undemocratic communist regime. So I would just say learn those lessons, build Poland, not for me to say what Poland should do, this policy, that policy. There are obviously tensions in all societies between people who've got different perspectives on how the direction society and the economy should go, how far, how fast. But providing you've got a democratic outlet, all these things I think can be resolved peacefully and democratically, and be very proud of your nation. I mean, I'm a proud Brit. I'm proud of my father's Polish heritage. I'm proud of my mother's Irish heritage, but I'm British. I'm really English. I grew up in London. I went to Oxford University. I worked for the BBC. My culture is that of Shakespeare and Wordsworth and Dickens and the English writers. But I'm also a proud European. And I think you can be a big, very strong Pole and a very convinced European. And I hope that's the future of the rest of this century that Poland can enjoy.